Miles away from the previous town, and a couple of days later, they finally reached their destination, another town that used to belong to the kingdom. After walking on a few of the main streets of it, they found the same story. There was no one in town. It seemed to be completely empty, same as the previous one. Kim Yubi and his loyal guard went to the center of the town where there was a fountain. They sat there. The king had his eyes staring straight to the ground and had a thoughtful expression on his face. This town was empty as well, which could very likely mean that all of the towns were empty. He knew that this could happen a long time ago. The kingdom's wizard had seen this happening in one of his dreams. The wizard dreamt that every villager left the kingdom by some strange reason that the dream didn't quite explain. They left, and they left all their things in their towns. Something had happened that had made them leave, apparently. There had not been any killing or any disease. It had been a choice that they had made. The wizard was very alarmed by having that dream. He knew that when he dreamed something happening, it usually happened in real life after some years. It was so unlucky that the wizard was not there anymore by King Yuvi's side. This time he would be very helpful, but he had disappeared as well some time ago. Knowing that they would not find anyone there either, King Yubi told his loyal guard that they should better be heading back to the castle. There was no point in searching this place nor other places, because they would all be empty. The life of the kingdom had been drained by some strange cause. Now the only thing they could do was to try to think calmly in the castle, find a reason, find a cure, or just lie down and wait for time to take them to make them disappear like the rest of the kingdom. To get back to the castle, they had to go first through the forest, then through the meadow, then over the hills, and then they would reach it. This would take them a few days, perhaps. On the way, marching, King Yubi kept thinking about how times were before, when he was a child, when he could play with his parents in the castle. It had been a very good time. He had had a very joyful childhood. They used to sit down and tell him stories, play with him, and try to make him smile and to make him happy all the time. He could tell them what he did in the day and tell them the stories and mischiefs he had done. They were good parents, and they were the king and queen of the kingdom. The kingdom hadn't been the same since they had left. King Yuvi's parents had disappeared as well. They hadn't said goodbye, they just disappeared. He could not remember if they left before or after the villagers started disappearing. Probably it had been before. Anyway, the kingdom had not been the same since they left. There used to be order and prosperity. Now everything seemed to have faded out. There was not much more hope for the kingdom. As they were marching, or rather walking, they could spot a small cabin in the woods. They would spend the night there. It was getting late and King Yubi was tired and sad. It was a good time to have some rest and to try to sleep the night away. What was this cabin? It seemed oddly familiar, somehow. The smell of it, the look of it, the feel of it, it all reminded him of something, but he couldn't quite know what it was. There was an old couch, an old radio transmitter, a kitchen table, and random kitchenware near the stove. It seemed pretty cozy if you asked him, but why was he feeling what he was feeling? Why was he suddenly so connected to this cabin that was there in the forest, where he had never been before? At least he didn't remember having been there before, but who knew? Maybe he had when he was a kid. He remembered he used to travel all around the kingdom with his parents, staying in little places where people would take them as their guests. Apart from all the furniture, kitchenware, and other elements of the decoration of the cabin, there was something that resembled an old chest above the kitchen table. An old brown woody chest that was there, looking as if it were waiting for somebody to open it, holding some kind of story inside of it. It was one of these things that King Yubi couldn't stop from doing. Once he had an idea in his mind, he would go for it. He would now open the chest and see what was inside of it. He got closer to the chest and with his right hand removed the lock that was locking it, and it wasn't locked, and pulled the wooden lid of the chest, thus revealing what was inside the chest. It was some kind of old photo album with its worn-out cover and with some threads unwrapping it. He took it, opened it, and had a glance at the first picture. His face suddenly got pale, and his eyes acquired this strange glossy look. It was as if he had seen something profound.